Okay, and welcome back to the second installment of the Prompt Command video tutorial series featuring Hearts of Iron 4. Now, in the last video, we left off with the game setup. We started with Italy. In the second video, we are going to go over the game interface. There's a lot of elements here on the screen, a little overwhelming for a new player, but we're going to go over each bit and see what we can let you know about that. Starting here at the top left, you're going to see your country flag. If you click on that, it will bring up this page. Will give you some information about what's going on in your nation. Many nations will have these national spirits. If you hover over each one, it will show you what they are. Like this one, for example, we get +5 stability. This one here, we get a faster justify war goal time, -5%. We do get less of an acceptance of diplomatic diplomacy, but a boost in acceptance of fascist diplomacy. And then the London Naval Treaty Signatory, which many of the majors in the start of the game will have this. It limits the size of ships that you can do. Here you'll see what kind of government you have. Here what it shows you the breakdown of support in your country. Like for example, here in Italy in the start of the game, you start as a fascist country, 76% support, with a democratic element and a very small communist element, 2%. Next, we'll get into these laws and government a little bit more in depth later. And you also can set your national focus here later. But this is an interface video. We're going to go more into depth in this stuff later. The next series of things here, you'll see all these numbers here at the top. This is going to be your political power, which is used for several different things in the game. Hiring advisors, decisions, all sorts of stuff. If you hover over each one of these, it'll give you a breakdown of what's going on with that, how much you earn a day, and any modifiers on that. Next is going to be your stability. Stability is will show you your stability and what is affecting it. War support is the next one. Available manpower, then it'll show you your used manpower and the different things that affect your manpower, which is used to field your armies. Number of factories your nation has, military, naval dockyards, and civilian factories. Fuel, very important. How much fuel you have, how much is being used today, how much you're making. And this will be your convoys. This is for transporting troops, for your trade missions. Continuing here at the top, you'll have your command power, which you earn to do special things. You upgrade your generals with that, and we'll go more into that later. This is army experience, naval experience, and air experience. These can be used for creating division templates for army, for boosting your doctrine research, for making variants of different vehicles. That is the same for Navy and for air. Here you'll see our decisions tab, which we'll click on that. We'll go more into depth on this a little bit later too, but it'll show you certain decisions that are available to you and their political power cost. You can hover over all these and it'll give you the tool tips on what you stand to gain, what you stand to lose. Next is going to be intelligence. This was something they added with La Resistance. If you don't have the La Resistance pack, you won't have this tab. This will be your research. We'll talk about research more in depth later. Diplomacy is pretty much showing any active diplomatic missions you have going on, your national focus. Your intel ledger will give you your information on your country. Trade, this is showing you your current trade missions for the different resources in the game. Like I said, we will go over all this stuff in more depth in the later videos. Construction shows current construction projects in your country. This is your production for military equipment, army equipment, ships, aircraft. Recruit and deploy. This is where you select your division templates and tell them to train, essentially. And it gives you a breakdown of the time it takes, and you can set your priorities for your equipment. And logistics here will show you any production deficits you have, how much you're making of something per day, and how much you have in your stockpile. You can also set your fuel prioritization down here as well. These are all things we are going to go into greater depth later. This is solely an interface video. Up here at the top, you'll have your time controls. You can speed up and slow down the speed of the game by either hitting plus or minus on your keyboard or hitting plus or minus here on the screen. Pause and unpause the game, which shortcut for that is space. Music controller, you can turn the music on and off. Here you'll see the army information. This will show all your current divisions, where they are, if they're assigned to any theaters or armies. And if you want to snap to where they are, you can right click on them. It'll show you each one. You can select it by just hitting left click. Similar situation here with the Navy for the second button. It'll show you where they are. You can right click for just to snap to where the ships are. Currently they're all docked. We don't have any missions going right now because we just started the game. And lastly, we have an Air Force tab. Same situation, shows you all your air wings, their strength, and you can right click to snap to the location of that air wing. Here it'll show achievements. We currently set this on civilian difficulty and do not have Iron Man turned on, so achievements are not available in this particular game. Now you click on the little globe here, this 0% will show you what's called the world tension, and that figures into a lot of things. The game just started, so there's no world tension right now. But if you click on that, it'll show you world tension history. There are no things that have created world tension yet. Countries that have created world tension, nothing there yet. But this is where you'd find that information. Current wars, we do have a war because Italy starts the game at war. So we have that right here. We can click on that, it'll bring up the war report. It'll show you the combatants and all that. We'll go more into this later. Down here at the bottom right, we will find the different map modes. This right here will swing out a world map, which you can use to snap to different areas. You use your mouse wheel to scroll, to zoom in, zoom out. So if we want to go back to Italy, we just click here on the map. If you want to go check out Japan, we can do that. So that's a way to easily navigate around the world if you need to. The main map mode you use most of the time will be the default map mode, but it's essentially kind of shows you your army units. You can click on like an airfield, it'll snap you into aircraft mode. If you click a naval unit, it'll snap you into naval mode. But you can go between all those right here. This is the Intel map mode, which will show like current intelligence unit missions going on. This top one here is supply areas. It'll show you the current supply status in certain regions, how much of the supply of that area is being used. Like, we'll show an example because we have some military units down here in Eritrea. It says we're required 7.16, but this area can support 17. So, you know, we're okay on supply here. Same here. This area can support a total of 13, but we're only using 1. If this first number gets above that one, then you're in trouble. And infrastructure in the dock in the area, which all play into supply. This next one's terrain map mode. It'll show you and kind of color code areas of different terrain. We'll go to Europe here so you can see how it looks kind of blotchy. These dark green areas will be forest, plains, hills. Big cities will say urban, mountains. Some of the areas you have to watch out for, like these, and they'll look different on the map, is marsh. Gets you 50% more division attrition, chance to get sick is 100. Your generals can get sick and stuff like that. We'll go over that more later. Resistance, currently, well, we have a little bit. Right here in Zara, we have 1% resistance and it's actually increasing. Down here in Libya, since these are not core states, you'll notice on Italy, it has no resistance, no compliance levels. We'll go into that. That's the next map mode. That is due to being a core state. It's like an Italian home state, so there's no resistance. It's only the areas that are like colonies, further out places. Eritrea, it's at 0 but increasing here. Same with Somalia. Next map mode would be compliance. That kind of ties into that. Somalia here has 10% compliance. Same with Eritrea. And it'll show you here, Libya area is 70% compliance. So they're actually doing pretty well in Libya. The longer you hold territory, the higher compliance you'll have. And that's another thing we'll go over more in depth later. This will be the resource map mode. This will show you what states have what resources. Like for example, here in the Piedmont region of Italy, we have a lot of our resources here: 41 steel, 2 tungsten, 27 aluminum, and 3 chromium. It'll show you all over the map areas that have good resources in that area. You go to a country like the United States, you're never hurting for resources. All this oil they have, steel. Some of these areas in Southeast Asia too are really good for their rubber. Malaysia. This is pretty much most of the rubber in the world. There's a couple of small areas in Africa. Next map mode will be infrastructure, and I'll show you color code areas of good infrastructure and bad infrastructure. The more red it is, infrastructure ties into your supplies. If there's not the infrastructure there to get the supplies to the troops, they will suffer more attrition. Factions map mode, you'll click on for alliances. Right now, since it just started, Italy is not in the Axis yet. Germany is the only Axis nation. Britain's the only allies nation. So Britain and their overseas holdings will all show allies. And as the game goes on, you'll also get other factions. The Soviet Union, of course, is the Comintern. That's the Communist Alliance. A few other things down here on the bottom is going to be unit counters between players. It basically toggles on and off whether you want to see enemy units or not, or just your own. Or I shouldn't say enemy, but player and not dire ways. It's helpful sometimes, like if you're having a hard time seeing where your units are, because sometimes, especially late game, when there's a ton of units, you'll get a whole bunch of units all in one spot. It just makes it kind of messy. Unit color between countries, that's another thing. It's really up to you what you want to do. Countries are allegiance. Gray are neutral. Enemy units, we can see that down here in Ethiopia since we're ore. Enemy units will be in red. Your units will be in green. But we could change it to just country color. Like Ethiopia is kind of like a purple color on the map here, so their units will look purple. It's just options you can toggle. You can turn on and off battle plans for allies if you want to see their battle plans or not. The day-night loop, I like to keep it turned off. But if you want to actually have a visual representation of day and night in the game, you can turn that on. And when you start, you see this dark and light going around the map. That'll show you where you're fighting at. There's actually, like, if you want to use that to strategize, your planes operate much better than the daytime. I usually like to leave it turned off because it's kind of annoying, I think. Fog of War is kind of a weird one here. It really just toggles on and off whether you have intelligence in an area or not. If you zoom in here on Ethiopia, for example, we can see these units that are right on the border. We can't see what's going on back here. So it shows these little clouds of fog back here. What you can do is turn that off if you just don't want to see those clouds. The simple map option. And then lastly, this will show active radars. We currently don't have any right now, but it would show radar stations and their coverage if we had any built at this point. When you start making armies, it'll all come up down here. Definitely go over that in a later video. If you need to see stats on any states, you just click anywhere on the map. It'll show you its infrastructure, any airfields and their level, any aircraft in their level, and any radars, and how many building slots they have. You can actually build from here if you want to. You can click on the empty building slots and add factories or whatever you want to build. Current port, any land forts or any coastal forts in that area, and any resources, recruitable population, and state owner, and if any foreign claims are in that area. Like here, for example, you have a state owner in France, but Savoy has a core state, or Aquitania, excuse me. That's another country that you can build later on if you do some weird non-historical paths. Well, thank you so much for watching this video on the interface. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them down below in the comments. I do stream 3 nights a week on Twitch. Most of the time I'll be playing Hearts of Iron, but we do depart from that every so often. So be sure to check the links down below for Twitch. Also drop in the Discord if you have any questions. Hit that like and or subscribe button for future videos. And we'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.